just something that you have in your house, in your room, for which you feel gratitude for. And it could be an actual item, or it might be something that reminds you of a time that you had a lot of gratitude. Hi, Freddie. So I can't lift my own dog up to the screen, so I'll bring Freddie instead. So this is my item for which I have some gratitude for this practice. We'll see if he sits still. He might not. But yeah, awe is this sense of being in the presence of something for which it reminds you of kind of how small we are and how vast and large the world is. So it often invokes this sense of gratitude, and these two can kind of flow between each other. So we can have this sense of gratitude, then we can have this sense of awe. So what I wanted to do with your item in that you've hopefully brought along with you is to connect with a small sense of awe, even in your own house. So, you might think, how could we possibly connect with a sense of awe in these times? But actually, it's even more important, I would say, to connect with awe. It could really support us in these difficult times. So what that might mean is, for awe, basically, a lot of the research shows that it's things like nature, it's things like great bits of art and creative work, but it's also human endeavors. So I think, many of us will be in awe right now of, what our frontline workers are doing and what our key workers are doing. So all of these things could be something to connect with that could support us during these difficult times, and connect gratitude with awe, bring these two together. So hopefully you've got something there for which you feel gratitude towards, and it might not invoke such a powerful emotion as awe, but you have this sense of connection and gratitude. So get your item ready, and I'll try and see if Freddie will join me here. Freddie, what a terribly trained dog. No, he's actually very well trained, but he's not playing ball right now. So grab your item, and this, if anyone's just joined us, they haven't got an item, just grab something nearby, or a memory, something that invokes a memory. And come on, Fred, here we go. And as I said, I've got this little pooch that is thinking, why is he not getting more treats? So hold your item in front of you and close your eyes. And to begin with, just taking a few deep breaths and just allowing your body and mind to settle. And if anyone doesn't have an item ready for this practice, something they feel gratitude for, you can just work with a memory. You can just work with, a memory of a time that produced awe and gratitude for you. So just breathing deeply, just relaxing. And this is a useful first stage. If we can get a little bit calmer, often this will invoke more awe and gratitude. So as I breathe and calm myself, Freddie's actually settled, would you believe? So even with all those treats, he has got a bit calmer himself. And when you're ready, just holding your item in front of you. So just taking your item, whatever it may be. And the first stage is just sort of taking in whatever that item is. So looking at the object, whether it's a photograph, a piece of art, an ornament, a book, whatever it might be, and just taking in the details first of all. So just looking at what that item looks like, and with your senses, just taking in that item. So just savoring, looking at the detail. And then in your mind, just reflecting on who gave you this item, or how this item found its way to you. So is there a story behind that? If it wasn't from someone directly in your life, what is the history of it? What is it linked to? And who may have provided it? Who might it have come from? and just reflecting and thinking about those people, all those different people who might have contributed. So any item we might have actually has a much bigger story than what it looks like at first glance. So for me, Freddie comes from a long lineage of charismatic little white dogs. I can reflect back on that history. I can then think, actually, we go further back. At some point, we reach wolves, which is awe-inspiring when you look at this little guy. But actually, anything can have a long history going back. So just reflecting on that, taking that in, and reflecting in your mind all those links in the chain. So just keeping on practicing, and I'm going to just put my little pooch out for now. Hang on. Just connecting with the thoughts, the reflection on that object, and breathing. And now, just to end this practice, so we've reflected on the history, where it's come from, the memories of personal significance for you. Also, now just connecting that with gratitude. So saying a few words in your mind of gratitude towards whatever the object is, the memory, the people involved. So whatever feels the right things to express gratitude for in your mind. And then taking a few deep breaths. And when you're ready, gently opening your eyes. And so this sense of awe, all of us might have memories of times in our life where we've connected with a deep sense of awe. And often these are quite transformative because, one theory around awe is that it evolved to bond us together, to unite us in groups and for us to work and connect together. And so, we might all have one or two significant memories of awe, but actually awe can happen daily, in little ways, just this sense of something larger than ourselves. Often we feel gratitude towards it, or once we feel awe, we then feel a sense of gratitude. And actually, it's another thing we can nurture and connect with consciously. And, sometimes when, say, our mood was lower or we're kind of stressed or this kind of thing, it can be hard to connect with awe. Often it needs that relaxed, calm state at the beginning that we tapped into a little bit. Unfortunately, Freddie couldn't maintain that calm state, so unfortunately I had to put him out. There was a treat dropped on the floor, which he was rather interested in. So I might try another day with Benji, my other dog. Well, Freddie's actually my in-laws' dog, but with Benji, my dog, because he's a little calmer, he might settle for the practice. But yeah, I hope you had a sense of that. You connected with some small sense of awe for whatever it is. And so, this is something that we perhaps can build into our lives in little ways day to day in these difficult times. So, some of us may be stuck in houses, may not be able to go outside and see the wider world, in which case the process of awe and gratitude might be quite within our own mind, our own imagination. So that could be going back in time to periods of awe, taking you back to a memory, you're connecting through your senses. You're right, I think holding things can be so, it can activate something kind of different in us, because actually our sense of touch is this really strong invoker of awe, actually, and often, holding objects can do that. So I think that's great. And I think, we could just pick up these items now and again in our house, or, look at a picture that reminds us of a time of awe. So lovely examples there. And really, awe is often connected with nature. People will often feel this. So if you're stuck inside just now, that could be looking out the window, actually, and just looking at the sky. I mean, it's always easier on a blue sky day. So, sometimes our mind might go to the past in negative ways, but actually, if we bring it to the past in these positive ways and reconnect with awe, it's another psychological trait that predicts well-being and fulfillment and sort of better mental health. So, during these difficult times, actually, rather than where our mind might naturally default to. And of course, there are worries and things we have to consider and be concerned about, but we couldn't no one could sustain that 24/7. That's going to impact us all. So to actually have breaks in time when we purposely reflect back on these experiences, like a meaningful holiday and the awe we had. Actually, that's the brilliant thing with our imagination, is it can activate so many of the same neurochemicals and sort of the pleasure centers, the brain and everything else that the actual experience does. So these can be so, grounding and sustaining during difficult times. And in terms of work, actually, to connect with awe and gratitude is going to make us more effective at our work. So they've done lots of studies on this. They basically, one way to test creativity is they give you an everyday item, and then you have to think about every possible way you could use that item in different ways. So they might give you a chair. We can use awe as something to support our work, because we will think of more creative uses of that object. So in those studies, people will take a chair and they can think of way more different things it could be used for beyond just sitting, if they have thought about something that produced awe beforehand. So that's one side. So we'll be more creative in our thinking, our problem solving. And the other side with awe is we'll be more connected to teams, so our stress will be lower. So if we're in more of a sense of awe in our work, or gratitude in our work, then we feel more connected, we're more sustained through stress. So there's some real specific benefits to awe and gratitude for our work as well. And I love those memories and those ideas and those objects. And, this is maybe a little thing just to take forward, and every so often, a lot of people do this anyway. A lot of people will get out the photo albums and, reflect on memories. And again, I think I talked yesterday about this peak in happiness as people get older. Often it is because people are spending more time doing this and actually savoring the good, rather than being so threat focused and problem focused. Again, with the big caveat that right now it makes sense to be threat focused and to worry about things in the world. So it's not to naively think we could do this all the time, but hits of this now and again can nurture us and sustain us. So I hope you got something from the practice today. I mean, awe and gratitude are so good for us. They even reduce inflammation in the body, so they have very tangible physical health benefits. So a little way to do this, again, I'm thinking of people who can't get out so much. So I mean, the counter of that is we have our one walk a day for most people, at least in the UK. So that can be a real time for awe and gratitude and connecting with what we can see. But if you're stuck inside, looking out the window, using memories, using items, reading, exploring stuff, but also nature documentaries. So there's a lot of evidence that even just watching a bit of Attenborough is so good for well-being. They've done actual, well-controlled studies on this, and people report greater well-being. They show lowered stress response from watching nature documentaries. So there are ways to do it. It's much harder if we can't get outside, and more of it might need to be in our own mind. But these practices, these ways of connecting can really support us. So